and also on the websites of the other projects that are participating in these events, namely CoFresh, Fairchain, Low in Food, and Plutos. And you will have the possibility then to get in touch with us and furthermore with the other participants in this event. So what is on our plate today? So collaborative and circular food systems can significantly reduce pollution of the environment, and they can also, in particular, address food waste along the agri-food value chain. And at the same time, sustainable food systems can improve health and increase the resilience of local economies and communities. Herewith, we will have the presentation of the recently adopted Farm to Fork strategy by Mr. Luis Vivas Alegre from the European Commission and Directorate General Santé. Then we will have a presentation of 5 Horizon 2020 projects that are focusing on sustainable food systems, and we will have, in particular, representatives from the Food Arrows project with Ainhoa Alonso from the University of Deusto. We will have a representative of the CoFresh project with Ines Echevarria from the National Center for Food Technology and Safety. We will have Fairchain presented by Geneviève Jeuzanquizou from the National French Institute for Agro-Environment Research. And we will have also presentation from Low in Food project by Clara Cicciatello from the University of Tuscia. And then we will also have a presentation of Plutos from Nikolaos Marianos from Neurotech. Then Neuropublic, sorry. And then we will have a panel discussion gathering those representatives of the projects, then also gathering Mr. Maximo Torero Cullen from the food, from FAO. Then also Ms. Natalia Brezina from the European Commission Directorate General for Agriculture. And again, Mr. Luis Vivas Alegre from the European Commission DG Agri. Just one word very quickly about me. My name is Philippe Michonaudet, and I work at ACR Plus, which is the Association of Cities and Regions for Sustainable Resource Management. We are a network of local and regional authorities working on helping cities, regions, and local governments on improving their material resource strategies. And we are welcoming also other organizations to cooperate with. Without further ado, I would like to pass on to Mihai Pera, who will also introduce this event. Mihai is from the European Research Executive Agency of the European Commission. Mihai, you should have the floor now.
Thank you, Philippe. Just a second so I can share my screen. Is it all right?
Yes.
Can you see my screen now? I'm not sure. Can you see my screen?
We could for a moment, but then it disappeared. Now we can.
Okay. Is the presentation fine now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think I cannot use the camera in the same time. I don't know. Hello, everyone. I am Mihai Pera, and I am the project officer managing the projects Low in Food and Food RAS on topic RUR 07. Welcome to all participants to this clustering event. I fully support this collaboration initiative of 5 projects to identify common objectives, to exploit synergies occurring from their specificities and to explore collaborative and circular food systems in order to reduce pollution and to improve health. I will give a brief presentation in the following minutes on how to leverage impact and how can we support you. In the first slide, I put just briefly a few words about how do you leverage impact. And I noted here 3 main aspects: make good use of links in your consortium and existing networks to identify synergies, overlaps, potential areas of collaboration, and to cluster with other actions to build a credible package, which is what we do now. In practice, this could mean joint organizations of events, common briefs of publications, shared platforms, memorandums of understanding, coordination teams. I will not insist on these things. I will go to what can we do to support you. And here I would like to make a brief presentation on the Horizon Results Booster. This is a tool that is designed to help, it's designed to support, to disseminate effectively and to boost exploitation potential of your research results. The project or group of projects can apply through this tool in order to receive support on portfolio dissemination and exploitation strategy, on business plan development, and on the go-to-market. I put here a link to the Horizon Results Booster. What are the services that we provide through this tool? The first service would be the Portfolio Dissemination and Exploitation Strategy, which has 3 modules. The first one is Portfolio of Project Results. The second one is Portfolio Dissemination Plan. And the third one would be the Project Exploitation Strategy. Another service that is included in this tool is Business Plan Development, which stands for a tailor-made training to develop a business plan. And the third service would be Go-to-Market Support, which stands for coaching for taking project results to the market. The next slide refers to a second service that I'm going to say a few words upon. Is the Horizon Results platform, which showcase results of EC-funded projects. I put here in the lower part of the screen the link to this service, and through this link, projects can submit key results in order to be shared with other services, with other partners, with the communities in general. And the third service, and the last one I'm going to say to discuss now, is the European IP Help Desk. This is a first-line intellectual property service providing free of charge support to help European SMEs, to help beneficiaries of EU-funded projects to manage their IP, their intellectual property issues in the context of transnational business, or which might be the case here, EU research and innovation programs. So this is also one of the services designed to support the beneficiaries in their activities to leverage impact. This is the last slide. Thank you for your attention. These are the 3 main services that I wanted to bring in discussion. If there are any questions, I'm ready to answer, and I think the time is out now, but I will be here for the entire length of the meeting, and I'm ready to take all the answers. If you want to send anything to me, you can send it via the chat, and I will take over the answers and come back to you with the answers. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mihai. Indeed, very important to remind the role of the European Commission and its services and agencies to support the innovation in key sectors like the one that we are addressing today. We will come back to this question of research and innovation later on during the panel, but also throughout the various presentations that will be made by the various participants in this event. Without further ado, I will pass the floor to Luis Vivas Alegre from DG Santé. I will share your presentation now, and yeah, just a quick second. Yes, normally you should see the presentation now. So Luis, you have the floor. Please just inform me when you want me to change the slides. Luis, I cannot hear you. I don't know if it's the same for the others.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry if I have to turn off the camera, but I may have some connection issues. So I will keep it off now for my presentation, but then I will turn it on later on again. Is the audio fine, can I ask?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great, thank you very much. So yes, indeed, thank you very much for having invited DG Santé to contribute to this very interesting event. My name is Luis Vivas Alegre. Thank you for the kind introduction earlier on, and I'm a policy coordinator working in the Farm to Fork Strategy Unit of DG Santé, which is overall in charge of the coordination of the implementation of the Farm to Fork strategy. However, I would like to signal that indeed the Farm to Fork strategy is a broader endeavor beyond DG Santé. It's a greater endeavor from the Commission. There are many Commission services contributing to the strategy. The colleagues from DG Agri that are present today, for example, also colleagues from DG Mare, DG Environment, DG Grow. The list is endless, but also the contribution from other colleagues, like for example, if I may, the colleagues in the Research Executive Agency are already helping there. And we may see later on how this is happening, for example, through the Horizon 2020 Green Deal call. Next slide, please. So as an introduction, you of course are very much aware of the Green Deal. And the Green Deal is basically an action plan that aims at boosting the use of resources by moving to a clean circular economy and to address biodiversity challenges and cut pollution. And the overall aim of the European Green Deal is that the European Union becomes climate neutral by 2050. A very big ambition, I would say. And as part of the European Green Deal, there are many different actions or building blocks that we can see in this slide. And while I could signal the farm to fork strategy as a component for related to the agri-food sector, to the food system, contributing to the Green Deal, if we look around all the different actions, zero pollution for Europe, transforming agriculture and rural areas, or even sustainable transport, we can acknowledge that all the elements and actions of the European Green Deal are interlinked, and that even if they are seen in isolation, at the very end, the synergies and co-benefits of the activities are all aiming at contributing at the European Green Deal and looking at each other and collaborating within each other for this major goal. Next slide, please. Indeed, the Farm to Fork strategy is now 1 year old. So it was published, the communication on the Farm to Fork strategy was published back in May 2020. We were through the COVID-19 pandemic, and 1 year has passed by already, and we will see later on a bit of what work is being developed in some of the areas that could be of interest for you and where we are there. Just to recap on what are the overall goals of the Farm to Fork strategy, the overall ambition that could be divided in 4 streams. The first of them is to reduce the environmental and climate footprint of the EU food system. And with this, to lead a global transition towards competitive sustainability from farm to fork, understanding that we need to do this with the collaboration of our international partners. A third objective is that this leads to tapping into new opportunities for businesses, people, and the environment. And overall, indeed, that this creates a robust and resilient food system. Next slide, please. As part of the strategy, there are 4 quantitative targets that are being set up for 2030, and these are representing there. I will not get into the detail. You are very likely much aware about those related to chemical pesticides, related to nutrient losses and fertilizers indirectly, related to antimicrobials, and related to organic farming and organic agriculture. And I would like to signal that these targets are aspirational in the sense that they are not included in any particular legislation. They are not legally binding. However, not by being aspirational, the push from the Commission and the Member States should be disregarded towards achieving those targets. And for example, they are already playing a crucial role in the evaluation of EU policies, like for example, related to the national strategic plans of the Common Agriculture Policy and the Common Fisheries Policy as well. Beyond these quantitative targets, there are other specific objectives as part of the strategy that have not been spelled out as quantitative targets. And those address areas like, for example, related to the fostering of healthy and sustainable food consumption, to the improvement of animal welfare, or, for example, the promotion of sustainable packaging solutions. So I invite you to look at the Farm to Fork strategy, not only from the side of the actual quantitative targets, but from the overall objectives and specific objectives that are being set out. Next slide, please. In order to achieve the objectives of the Farm to Fork strategy, a list of actions have been spelled out, and you can find those in the annex of the communication. And as part of those, there are 2 overarching actions, 2, let's say, horizontal ones. The first of them related to a proposal for a legislative framework for sustainable food systems that the Commission is currently working on in consultation with the stakeholders, also engaging member states, and the objective is to table a proposal in 2023. And the second overarching action relates to the development of a contingency plan for ensuring food supply and food security. And this is very much linked to making the food system in the EU resilient in the aftermath of the COVID-19 crisis. If hopefully we can say we are already in the aftermath of the COVID-19 epidemic. And the objective is to deliver this within 2021. Apart of these 2 general overarching actions, there are also 25 initial specific sectoral actions that are part of the action plan, and that are somehow organized about different stages of the food value chain, in particular aiming at ensuring sustainable food production, at stimulating sustainable food processing, wholesale retail, hospitality, and food services practice, at promoting sustainable food consumption, and at reducing food loss and waste, which I believe is very interesting for the audience today. Next slide, please. So if we may look indeed at the particularities of the actions to reduce food losses and waste, what is presented in the farm to fork strategy is at two levels, looking into a commitment to reach the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals targets, to have food waste and retail and consumer levels by 2030 and reduce food losses along the whole food production and supply chains. And for that, the two related actions foreseen are the proposal for establishing EU-level targets for food waste reduction by 2023, and on the other hand, the revision of the EU rules related to date marking in foods. So this is the use by and the best before dates, with a proposal to be made by the Commission in 2022, next year. Next slide, please. Regarding food waste prevention targets, the Commission is working with the objective also of basing this with the data reported in 2022, to be reported in 2022. And the work is, of course, going to be subjected to an impact assessment, including stakeholder consultations, which will be launched during the second half of this year. The Commission proposal will be the ordinary legislative type of proposals that will lead to a co-decision between the member states in the Council and the European Parliament. So, and this will come, as I mentioned earlier, back next in 2023. Next slide, please. Regarding promotion of the better understanding of the use of date marking, there are different activities that are being pursued. As you see in the slide, EFSA will be requested for scientific advice on the matter, and is being already requested on two aspects related to advice on factors to guide choice between use by and best before, and also regarding other labeling aspects which are part of the farm to fork strategy. The consumer research findings will also be incorporated as part of the thinking about the future Commission proposal that will come up in Q4 of fall of 2022. And there is already an inception impact assessment that was published and consultation was launched regarding this, and you can find the link in this slide if you want to visit the outcome of this consultation. Next slide, please. Indeed, just going back to the overall farm to fork strategy, the objective of the strategy is that an integrated approach from farm to fork is foreseen and stimulated, and that this is done with different levels of governance and multiple instruments. And there, from consumers, from citizens, to processors, to supporting services from research and advisory services, and to the international dimension, will all play a role in ensuring that the objectives of the farm to fork strategy are met. And there, the role of cities and communities, of course, is also important. Next slide, please. In order to enable the transition, in the next 3 slides, you will see a series of tools or mechanisms, elements that are available already at EU level to foster that the actors are able to meet the objectives. And indeed, you can see in this slide examples like the common agriculture policy we spoke about before, or aspects like the rolling out of fast broadband internet in rural areas to reach 100% by 2025. Or again, references to Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe on the research side, which are providing for investments in the area of research and innovation to contribute to the overall objectives and facilitate that the actors are able to meet those objectives with the help of innovation. Next slide, please. Also, advice, knowledge, and data will help in enabling the transition, and to that end, advisory services are crucial. So member states will need to really scale up and revamp what they are doing already to provide objective, tailored advisory services for sustainable farm management, for example, and beyond farm management, also at the level of support of SMEs, this will be important for food processors. So they are able to promote new skills and develop new business models as well. Next slide, please. as I mentioned earlier in the introduction, the transition to be efficient cannot be done only with the spirit within the EU, but we need to engage with our international stakeholders to promote a global transition. And there are a number of opportunities that have been pursued already with bilateral and multilateral engagement at different levels, as you can see in this slide. And of particular interest, I would like to recall, probably you are aware of this, that the United Nations is organizing a food system summit later on this year. There will be a pre-summit event in Rome before the summer break. And there also the EU is very much engaged with member states with the farm to fork strategy, of course, as the flagship within the Green Deal related to sustainable food systems. Next slide, please. To conclude, I would like to mention that indeed, beyond the need for engagement at different levels for different actors, there is a need to address the challenges and the opportunities for sustainability within all its three dimensions. You are very familiar with this sustainability paradigm regarding economic, social, and environmental sustainability that was developed in the 70s and the 80s, later on taken up by the UN. So it's nothing new that the Commission has put on the table, but it's a model that for the farm to fork strategy makes a lot of sense. And to that end, we see that all the elements, even on its individuality, contribute to the overall objective of promoting sustainable food systems. And in my last slide, if I may, I leave you with some references. If you would like to get further insights into the farm to fork strategy, you can see some previous material about the conference organized back in October 2020. And also, I would like to give you the heads up of the forthcoming farm to fork conference that will be organized on the 14th and 15th of October this year, and I invite you to follow and check the website, because this will be updated soon, maybe this morning. I didn't check myself actually. And also to remind you about the forthcoming UN Food System Summit by the end of this year. So thank you very much again for the opportunity to share with you the context of the farm to fork strategy for this event, and I'm looking forward to follow the very interesting discussions that will be part of this seminar. Thank you again from my side.
Thank you, Luis, for this very interesting introductive presentation that gave us the possibility to have a kind of framework for this forthcoming discussion. I am sure that Maximo Torrero-Cullen from the Food and Agriculture Organization will be delighted to say more about the upcoming events and activities that are going at FAO level and at UN level. Without further ado, I am passing the floor to the representatives of those projects that are collaborating together on these events. The first of them being Food Hours Projects, and it will be presented by the coordinator of the project, Ms. Ainhoa Alonso from the University of Deusto. Ainhoa, you have the floor.
Yes, can you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much, Philippe, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. Food Hours, an innovative collaborative circular food system to reduce food waste and losses in the agri-food chain, is a citizen-driven innovation project that combines social and technological innovations to prevent and reduce food waste. It is estimated that 1.3 billion tons of food is lost or wasted annually, with global significant social, environmental, and economical impacts. So it's evident that our current food supply chains are inefficient, and so vulnerabilities from initial steps during agriculture, production till final consumption, including the management of the final biowaste generated. Also, if we take into account the 70% estimated increase in the food demand by 2050 due to the expected population growth, the 6% decrease in the crop's efficiency due to climate change, the consideration of the agri-food system as one of the largest contributors of greenhouse gases, as well as the result of billions of euros lost as a consequence, it is evident that the reduction of food losses and waste can also play a key role to achieve a global food security, becoming one of the biggest challenges in our century. However, there is still a lack of knowledge about the main drivers for food waste and losses, the origin and its quantification along the entire agri-food chain, which is key to determine where we must intervene to reduce food waste and also to identify the best approaches to do it. Under this premise in mind, the overall objective of our project of Food at Us is to enhance the resilience and the sustainability of the local and regional European food systems by the deployment and the demonstration of 23 innovative solutions across all the stages in 3 particular value chains in Europe. This will contribute to promote more sustainable and cooperative models for prevention, reutilization, recovery, and valorization of food losses and waste, and paying special attention on perishable food, including cooked food. The partnership to carry out this ambitious project includes a multi-actor consortium composed of 29 partners from 8 European countries, covering a wide range of knowledge areas and expertise. We have educational and research centers, experts on life cycle assessment, on social innovation, on nutrition, labeling, and stakeholders of the whole value chain as producers, farmers, retailers, logistics, waste managers, and of course, end consumers and social and local communities. With a total budget of 6 million euros and over the course of 3 years and a half, Food at Us will deploy 23 innovative technological and non-technological solutions that will allow us to move towards more sustainable and resilient local food system. In particular, in Food at Us, there is a governing process focused on digitalization, aiming to ease the confidence, the communication, and the traceability of information among all the stakeholders. This will allow us to quantify and monitor food loss and waste, to identify the main spots, the forecasting of the demand, of the food demand, involving all the actors to adjust production, and finally a better management of the resources. Our operational unit is a set of strategies that take the form of technologies, innovation actions, new financing models, co-creation and awareness actions, educational materials, good practices, new alliances, protocols or recommendations that will be targeted to specific stages, but also by shaping an integral solution that we have called Food at Us Suite. This integral solution will allow efficient data management to provide stakeholders with efficient and tangible criteria and operational decision-making tools to be able to enhance the effectiveness of the solutions from an holistic point of view. The development of these solutions will be tested in, thanks to the support of all the partners, and tested in and validated in 3 specific value chains. The Spanish pilot focused on prepared salads and vegetables, the Danish pilot about meat and fish, and the Slovakian pilot around bread. The transferability and the replicability of these solutions will be assessed thanks to the involvement of 6 follower regions across Europe that will participate in our activities, in our meetings, in our co-creation activities. They will provide us also data about food loss and waste, and also sharing their difficulties, barriers, and experiences to finally adopt the best strategies and results developed in the project. At the end, summarizing, our main ambition is to become an European reference for a multi-actor approach strategy in the field of food losses and waste, to prevent food losses and waste through resilient food systems and developing circular solutions, where we strongly think that sharing information are working together, working in a cooperatively way, are the key. And this is the map of our consortium with 29 partners and also involving external stakeholders in overall more than 40 stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ainhoa. Without further ado, I'm passing the floor to Ines from CNTA to present the CoFresh project.
Thanks so much, Philippe and ACR for inviting us to this event. I still do not have the option to share my screen. If you can habilitate me, please. So, okay, now I can. I'm gonna do this very quickly. Okay, so CoFresh stands for Co-Creating Sustainable and Competitive Fruits and Vegetables Value Chains in Europe. Our project was built in the frame of the RUR 06 topic, so Innovative Agri-Food Value Chains. And it is an innovation action, and the project started in October last year and will last for this 42 months duration. We are 26 partners plus 2 associated third parties. And I would like to emphasize or highlight a point that in CoFresh, we are working on 7 different agri-food value chains represented in the fields of fruits, vegetables, plant-based meat analogs, and also feed. The main objective of CoFresh is really to redesign and pilot innovative systemic approaches to agri-food value chains and trying to scale up these innovations at a European level. To do this, different innovation approaches will be first identified as key success factors are main innovations in innovative value chains around Europe, and then that will be tested in our pilot cases, and this should serve to improve the sustainability and efficiency of those value chains. So the project really relies on an intervention research. So very briefly, I would like to explain the methodology that we are following in this project. So after a first step of mapping and assessing current situation, from which a portfolio of innovative business models, or plus than 20, will be identified around the European Union, and also and the impact of public policies on sustainable innovation will be also published. Based on this, and based on our 7 pilot cases, a co-creation process will conduct to redesign our these 7 pilot cases, all of them working in parallel, and to design the interventions that we will be demonstrating in the next step, in which we will implement and monitor these innovations that will permit the redesign and the improvement of efficiency and sustainability, tackling the 3 axes of sustainability of those pilot cases, and we will serve really to demonstrate the efficiency of those innovations. Both the baseline case and the redesign pilot cases will be assessed from environmental, social, economical, and also consumer behavior point of view. And of course, we count with these work packages that will permit us to maximize the impact. As I said, it is intervention research, the methodology that really is the heart, together with co-creation, of our project. So we will try to do such in these 7 pilot cases. So the 7 value chains that represent our pilot cases were identified and selected, trying to have a variety of characteristics that made them representatives of the fruit and vegetables and other plant-based products in the European Union. So we have 6 different countries: Spain, France, Hungary, Italy, the Netherlands, and Poland. So we have both long and short value chains, some of them with really a regional impact, but others being international. We have both organic and conventional production. Different crops are being studied in these pilot cases, and we have also very different food processes involved. So we go from fresh product to preserves or processed foods. And also we have different business models represented. We have both business to business and business to consumers models, and as I said, very different markets, regional or national or international. So these are our 7 pilot cases. You can see here the differences, and as I commented, and these are the partners who are in charge of those pilot cases. I would like to emphasize the fact that although the pilot case is represented by a partner, we have developed a method to incorporate all relevant stakeholders along the value chain of each one of these pilot cases. This is made through organization of a series of stakeholders meetings that will take place in parallel. And to do this, each pilot case has contacted and recruited these stakeholders, going from the inputs to their agricultural production, really to the consumers. And we are really trying to get the input and really to hear and understand the consequences and the impact of these innovations we are going to implement in each pilot cases in every step of the value chain. This is the project. As I commented you, it started in October. I just wanted to share with you some of the current status of some of these activities. As I introduced in this first step of the methodology, the mapping and assessing the current situation of these fruit and vegetables value chains in Europe. The first part, the state of the art, has been completed, and very shortly it will be a resumed version will be available in our webpage. But in the meantime, I just wanted to comment this sustainable oriented innovation that has come up, this definition that has been extracted from this state of the art conducted by our Work Package 1 team, so Wageningen University, University of Almeria, University of Bologna, and ENCO. So and this is the concept that we will try to follow along our project. So we understand this sustainability-oriented innovation as a collaborative process of change directed at improving one or more of the 3 pillars of sustainability, relying on a diversity of bundled innovations, notably technological, organizational, and institutional, and those innovations that really provide benefits and are fairly distributed along the value chain actors. So I think this is a nice definition that will really guide our efforts in this project. So as I commented, in this mapping and assessing the current situation, we had first a state-of-the-art revision, more than 350 references were analyzed. We have already started to identify plus than this is the objective, plus than 100 innovative value chains around Europe. There will be studied, and from there we will extract the success key factors and the frame that will serve to really define a portfolio of plus 20 innovative business models around Europe. And also this publication on the impact of public policies on sustainable oriented innovations will be produced in the next months.
Ines, and I must ask you to finalize your presentation now. In order to, yes. I'm sorry to be a bit abrupt, but it'll leave enough time to the other.
No problem. I have finished.
The projects and the rest of the presentation.
Okay, so thanks so much. I hope I gave you a clear view on our project.
I think it was a very nice introduction to the project. Thank you, Ines. Be assured that all presentations will be available online, and therefore all projects will have the possibility to go into the details and come back to you if they have questions. Now, the next project to be presented is Fairchain. Geneviève, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. I think you can see my screen. Thank you, Philippe, and thank you for inviting me to present the Fairchain project. So the full title of Fairchain is Innovative Technological, Organizational, and Social Solution for may I close this? For fairer dairy and fruit and vegetable value chains. So like CoFresh and Pluto's, Fairchain was selected under the topic RUR06, focusing on innovative agri-food value chain, and the duration of the project is 4 years, and it has just started November last year. So the context of the project is, as we know, there is a strong need to change food systems into more sustainable ones. So Fairchain was built on the analysis, drawbacks, and advantages of common existing food supply chains. To keep it simple, we have in one side the dominant system based on long supply chains. So this system yields many benefits, as we know, such as mass production, lower price, decrease of price due to large volume, diversity and hyper choice in end products for the consumer, for instance, but it is also at the source of a number of emerging issues, economic issues with unbalanced distribution of value added, for instance, social issues with the decrease of agriculture workforce or lack of confidence of the citizens also, and environmental issues with the increase of packaging and high food waste. And in response to this, short value chains have emerged, and there have several advantages, of course: greater social cohesion, fairer price for farmers, creation of jobs at local level. But they also lead to a number of issues, restricting individual farmers' competitiveness against conventional players, such as insufficient production volume, higher price, often higher price, limited distribution, or difficulties in treating or valorizing small volumes of co-product and effluents. So what we want to do in FairChain is to contribute to the transition towards a new kind of food value chain that we have called intermediate value chain. And this will be done, and this is done in the dairy and fruit and vegetable sector with a specific focus on the post-harvest steps. So this intermediate value chains is then a mid-scale food chains. They make it possible to supply fresh, sustainable, and high-quality products to consumers beyond the local market and in greater quantities, and they could be characterized by trusted and transparent relationships and equal distribution of value created among the involved actors, and also implementation of common values through collective organizations. So the objective of FairChain is then to support small actors, to support the scaling up of these small and mid-sized actors facing the unstable conventional dominant agri-food chain, and simultaneously to inspire or to encourage large actors to downscale conventional food value chains, and then better address the growing consumer demand to consume local, high quality and safe products. So the project has itself the following 4 main objectives. The first one is to test, pilot, and demonstrate technological, organizational, and social innovations that have the potential to support intermediate value chains and address some of their issues. Deliver a set of innovation at high technology readiness level, TRL. Develop business models associated to these innovations and carry out environmental, social, and economic impact assessment, and then formulate recommendations, create tools and guidance documents to ensure uptake and replicability of value chains developed with the project. So just a few example of innovation suitable for implementing intermediate value chains and for strengthening the position of small and mid-sized farmers and processors. So some innovation related in order to improve the distribution of product, other in order to better valorize the co-products and byproducts, which is quite challenging at low scale. Innovation to improve the transparency of these intermediate value chains, and also some organizational and social innovation in order to improve the sharing of processing equipment, improve logistical models, especially with returnable packaging, and also innovative funding systems, and also the creation of food innovation incubator to stimulate and promote food innovations and enhance collaborative among actors of the value chains. So the approach could be summed up in 3 main steps. First, to map innovations that could contribute to the development of intermediate food value chain. test in real-life conditions of a minimum of 8 innovations through 6 case studies across 6 countries, Switzerland, France, Sweden, Belgium, Greece, and Austria. And these 6 case studies have been chosen because they represent different specific value chains in the dairy and fruit and vegetable sector, and they involve small and mid-sized actors in a specific territory that requires improvement. And the third and the last step will be to formulate recommendations based on results. So just to keep in mind that to ensure the success of the project, that is to say the implementation of innovations, and to ensure the transition to these intermediate value chains, all relevant stakeholders along the case study value chain from farmer to consumer will be involved in the design, in the decision-making process to co-create, redesign, and assess the 6 case studies value chains. So just a word about the consortium. It is composed of 20 partners from 8 countries with a large range of expertise, 5 academics, 11 industrial partners, 8 of them are SMEs, 3 are large company, and 4 non-governmental organizations, 3 out of them being extension organizations devoted to technology transfer, communication, dissemination, and training. Thank you. This is an overview of all the partners, the logo, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Geneviève. Without further ado, I'm passing the floor to Clara to present the Loving Food project.
Thank you very much. I think you shall be able to see my screen now.
Yes.
Yeah, but can you see the presentation or not?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, I'm Clara Cicatiello, the coordinator of Loving Food. I'm from University of Tuscia, Italy. And the Loving Food stands for multi-actor design of low waste food value chains through the demonstration of innovative solutions to reduce food loss and waste. So some key facts: Loving Food counts 27 participants from 12 countries, including the UK and Switzerland, and it's a project with 6 million of costs and 5.5 million European funding. And the project was funded under the RUR 07 2020 call, and it started in November. This project is a little bit longer than the other ones, so it's ending in February 2025. One key point about the consortium is that it's very different. I mean, we have 9 universities and research institutes, but the other partners are really either actors of the food chain or innovation providers. We also have 2 public institutions that are involved in the demonstration of the innovations against food waste, and 1 communication partner. So this is the map of the and the list of the partners. But I don't want to spend much time on it because I would like to give you some insight about what we are going to do, what we're doing right now in Loving Food. So the idea is that we have some food chains, and we are focusing on the food chains that have been found to have a higher level of food loss and waste. So, and we have selected some promising innovations, 14 innovations among technological innovation, but also organizational innovation that can change this value chain and can make them more, can make them to produce less waste. So basically we are testing and demonstrating these innovations in the real value chains, and we're focusing on fruits and vegetables, bakery products, and fish value chains. And for these 3, we are focusing on the upstream part of the value chain, so basically from production to retailing, while we have some specific innovations for the consumption stage, either at home consumption and out of home consumption. So Loving Food is really focusing on prevention and reuse of food waste. So basically all the innovations concern the prevention of food waste, avoiding to generate this waste of food, or in some cases the reuse of this potential food waste, and reuse for human consumption, not for feed. So we are really addressing the two first layers of the food waste hierarchy. The core of the project, I have to say, this is an innovation action as well. So the core of the project is really the choice of the innovations. We have selected these 14 innovation among very promising solutions. And so the idea, and we have also a strong component in this project about evaluation. And this evaluation will be a multi-actor evaluation. So right now, we are now in the month 7 of the project. We are conducting this discussion with all the stakeholders, all the actors, so including, let's say, the supermarkets or the hotel that will implement the innovations. And we are discussing with them how we will evaluate in the second year of the project the success of the innovations. So this is more or less the methodological approach of the project. So right now we are in phase 1. So we are co-defining the methodology with all the partners of the project, including the innovators and the final users of these innovations in all the chains that I've already mentioned. And then we will assess the quantity of the lost and waste in this in the pilots. Before implementing the innovation. Then we will implement the innovations, and we will check whether the implementation of the innovation has reduced the quantity of food waste in the value chains we are addressing. So basically, we are measuring the efficacy of these innovations in reducing food loss and waste, but at the same time, we are also measuring the socioeconomic effect of the implementation of these innovations. And we are collecting data to support also an environmental assessment, because all these informations together will lead to the final phase of the project, which is provide an impact evaluation or recommendations for policies, and of course the full exploitation of the successful innovations on the market. So just some examples of these innovations to conclude. So for example, we have forecasting technologies based on machine learning to reduce and to forecast in a more accurate way the sales, for example, of bakeries and of supermarkets. And so we will apply these forecast softwares to allow the bakeries and the supermarkets to order the products they need really without surplus. But we also have some other innovations that are applicable at the consumer level. For example, the plate waste tracker, that is basically a tool that is able to track the quantity of food waste on trays in school canteens, or also the Kuiper system, which is a system that is placed in the kitchen of restaurants and hotels to recognize with an intelligent camera the quantity and type of food waste that is wasted every day, so to allow for a prevention of this food waste being generated. So in our project, basically all these demonstrations will go in parallel in the same period, and they're addressing different levels of the food, different levels of the value chain. And so I think that's all for what concerns Loving Food. We have already our online media activated and social media, so probably you can get more information from there if you wish. Thank you.
Thank you, Clara. Very efficient and straight to the point. Last but not least, Nikolaos, for the Pluto's project, you should now have the floor.
Hi, thank you. I hope you can both hear me now, and you can also see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm Nikos Marianos. I'm from Yea Epichirin, actually, not Neuropublic, which is the coordinator of the project, Yea Epichirin. Plutos is about data-driven sustainable agri-food value chains. The main goal of Plutos is to help rebalancing the agri-food value chain and enhancing its sustainability, focusing on all dimensions, by establishing a sustainable innovation framework that is powered by an innovative combination of behavior innovation, collaborative business model innovation, and data-driven technological services. Although a lot of the partners that we have in Plutos come from a data-driven technology, let's say, background, we know that the key is not to focus only on data-driven technology, and technology on its own cannot solve all the problems, but we need to tackle both the business model aspect and the behavior innovation, the behavior aspect, in order to make real change. Although the topic was published before the Green Deal, a lot of things are common, and what this topic, this call asked, is very connected to Green Deal. So Plutos will help rebalancing the agri-food value chain, as we said, and touching a number of important issues in the Green Deal and the Farm to Fork strategy. So we aim to reduce the environmental footprints, support small-scale farmers, and leave no one behind. We want to empower the consumers, improve soil health and carbon farming, reduce food waste, develop ecosystem services, and find proper payment for this. And we see that the integration of behavior change, business models, and digital technology has huge potential, because it offers on a realistic approach to the realities of the agri-food system today. And it creates awareness that the changes here affect stakeholders there. It's not that we cannot introduce a change somewhere, an innovation somewhere, and expect that it will not affect the rest of the system, the rest of the value chain. We need to make to have this in mind. And this approach is an approach that combines multiple perspectives and gives us a holistic view, a systemic tool. Also, in Pluto, sustainable oriented innovation, it's also crucial for us. It's key. In our case, we haven't created, a new definition that is more close to what we do to this to the agri-food value chain. But what I would like to stress is that for us, all the dimensions are needed in order to have real sustainable oriented innovation, because as the FAO findings show us that if you don't have economic sustainability, you will not be sustainable in the short term. If there is no social sustainability, it will not be sustainable in the medium term. And if you don't have environmental sustainability, any innovation that you will have will not be sustainable in the long term. So we need all three dimensions to be covered in order to be sustainable in the long term. As I mentioned earlier, the main tool that we will have in Plutos will be the Sustainable Innovation Framework that we are developing. One of the goals of this topic also, and of our projects, is to assess what are the impact of the innovations, the different innovations that we will use in the terms of sustainability, economic, environmental, and social sustainability. So the Pluto's Sustainable Innovation Framework will have a measurement framework in order to measure at the beginning what is the potential of the innovations that we are co-designing, and then through innovation process, and the framework will help us design the innovations and apply them in the field through a number of pilots and again through the 3 layers of the framework, which are the behavior innovation, sustainable collaborative business model innovation, and technology, data-driven technology innovation. So in each case, we will combine social innovations, innovative business models, and technologies. And at the end, again, using the measurement framework, we will measure the final impact, achieved, at least in the context of this 3-year project. A key tool that we have in Pluto's is the Pluto's Innovation Academy, which is a mechanism for supporting the implementation of the innovative approaches arising from the framework by fostering a continuous co-creation, dialogue and discussion with the 11 sustainable innovation pilots that we have in this project, and which pilots are built around innovative agri-food value chains, 24 of these value chains around Europe. And it will act as a virtual academy, and its main role is to provide a structure for the identification of opportunities, for the promotion of new paradigms and behavior innovations, the development and sharing of new sustainable business models focusing on mutuality, raising awareness of new data-driven technological tools and services, and finally, on the establishment of new partnerships and connections across the value chain and the agri-food ecosystem. This is an overview of the sustainable innovation pilots that we have. In total, we have 24 value chains across Europe in 13 countries, targeting either different sectors like vegetables or arable and pasta, or some of these innovations or pilots are, cross-sector and target multiple sectors. We have pilots coming from, focusing on different aspects of technology. Everything data-driven, the data-driven technology element is always there. There is a reliance on smart farming and traceability to serve different business perspectives, different business needs, or different social needs. And we try to combine different sets of innovations covering, again, behavior innovation, collaborative business model innovation, and data-driven technology innovation to achieve real systemic change. That's
Nico, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I will ask you to finalize the presentation. Yes.
These are the partners and these are the contact details. Thank you for listening.
I am very sorry. It might be a bit rude, but if we want to keep enough time for the panel discussion, this is my role of the bad cop to be a bit strict on the timing. Thank you all for the presentations that you made of the projects. Very interesting, very relevant to the current global challenges that we have to face with regards to sustainable food systems. I would like now to encourage questions. My colleague Nuria already asked that on the other chat box. Don't hesitate to type down questions or comments there if you have any. And I would like to welcome 2 of our guests to the panel so that we can have a broader panel discussion. First one being Maximo Torero-Kellen from the Food and Agriculture Organization. Thank you, Maximo, for being here. Second one being Natalia Brzezina from the European Commission, DG Agri. And ladies first, I would like to give the floor directly to Natalia. We cannot see you, but because of a small technical issue, but we can definitely hear you. We have heard from the projects, the presentations that we have here, seen here, that there is a large role for innovation. Could you please elaborate a bit on that and the place of innovation in the Farm to Fork strategy? and with the transition to sustainable food systems.
Yes, thank you very much. Good afternoon to all participants, and thank you for inviting me to speak. I hope you can hear me. I'm sorry for the technical issue with the camera, but yeah, unfortunately, I cannot open it. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
So yes, so you have asked what is actually the role of innovation in the farm to fork strategy and transition to a sustainable food system. And as you have seen in the presentation that was given by Luis on the farm to fork strategy, for farmers, food chain operators, consumers, and many other actors across the food system, the farm to fork strategy sets ambitious targets and objectives. And to achieve them, actually, we have basically 9 growing seasons, because most of them are set to be achieved by 2030. So research and innovation, in our view, is a key source of new knowledge and solutions that can enable and accelerate the progress to achieve these challenges, these challenging targets and objectives. And in fact, as we are speaking now, and as we have seen in these 5 presentations, innovations including digital technologies, nature-based solutions, business models are transforming the way we produce and consume and food. So the good news is that we are not starting from scratch, as you see. Since 2014, DG Agri has taken a leading role in programming and implementing agriculture research innovation. And we have developed a long-term strategic approach to EU agriculture research innovation. And already back then, the European Green Deal, and in particular, the priorities that are now in Farm to Fork strategy, were at the heart of the strategy. And following the strategy, we have supported many R&I actions to support the transition to a sustainable food system. And among these actions, we have programmed also the 5 projects that you have just seen. And these were programmed actually in 2018 as innovation actions in order to build on all the other previous research innovation that has been conducted under Horizon and beyond, of course, and to start upscaling these different innovative solutions to be on time with achieving the targets and objectives that were set in the Farm to Fork strategy. So today I'm really happy to see that the 5 projects are now in full speed, innovating to accelerate the transition to a sustainable food system. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Maybe to complement a little bit that, we have had Horizon and research projects for many years now. How to go from demonstration to mainstream, how to boost the impact on the ground of research and innovation. Maybe you could elaborate that a bit, and maybe your colleagues, Mihai and Luis, could also react on that.
Yes, thank you. I don't know whether they want first to speak, but just to tell you that there are actually different instruments that we can boost the impact and on the ground. However, in my view, given also the time, I would like to say one that is, in my view, the most powerful. It's the multi-actor approach, and that we have introduced already under Horizon 2020, and we would like to continue in even more, let's say, strengthened form in Horizon Europe. But as you have seen, all the 5 sister projects that were presented apply the multi-actor approach, and there the farmers, processors, cooperatives, retailers, consumers, innovators, IT work closely together with researchers and are addressing the needs that are actually on the ground in practice. And by developing together with the end users the innovations, I think it's one of the most powerful way how we can speed up the uptake of innovation and the deployment. But yeah, maybe Luis or Mihai want to add something. Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, I had my microphone switched off. No, I think Natalia said exactly what should have been said from my point of view, at least, that the multi-actor approach is present in all of them. I think this is the main asset that we have to accelerate the process. And yeah, well, co-creation on the ground, as it was said by Natalia, is indeed, I think, the main element that will help us to accelerate the process.
Thank you. Yeah, and this is indeed something that we have seen in
Thank you. And sorry again if I need to
projects.
turn off the camera.
Yes, please go ahead, Luis.
Oh, thank you very much. Sorry if I have to turn off the camera for the audio. I would like indeed just to complement what Natalia and Mihai have mentioned, that on the side of what we traditionally know as the policymakers, we are also fostering that the communities that are part of the research and innovation environment become closer to the policymaking communities. And in that sense, thanks to the co-creation framework of Horizon Europe, and thanks to the multi-actor approach already implemented through Horizon 2020, our aim, for example, in DigiSante is that our stakeholders in the different committees or the different advisory groups around DigiSante are very much aware of the opportunities that are coming from research and innovation. And the intention of this is not to merely convey or communicate what research is doing, but to anticipate what innovation is bringing forward that should be bear in mind in the context of the regulatory environments for the future. Also, it's very important that innovation is safe. And for that, what we are doing in Sante also is to promote that the European Food Safety Authority and the other regulatory agencies, like, for example, ECHA or the EEA, are well equipped also with the knowledge and the innovation needed for risk assessment. So for the assessment of the safety of innovation once placed in the EU market. And this is something that, for example, we are already looking into the area of chemical safety, where there are many opportunities to foster the implementation of the EU chemicals strategy and its different elements. And for that, we are working towards, for example, it's just an example, together with other Commission services and member states and the agencies themselves, towards the partnership on the assessment of the risk of chemicals, which can be crucial in order to indeed ensure that innovation in the chemical sector continues to be safe in the future. So this is also some kind of research and innovation that we need to stimulate in Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe. Now, Horizon 2020, of course, is almost history after the Green Deal call, but it's something to keep in mind. We need to provide also science and knowledge for risk assessment for the EU agencies and for the member state agencies as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now taking maybe a broader perspective and from the side of the Food and Agriculture Organization, Maximo, thank you for being here with us. What is your reaction after hearing what has been presented, those projects related to innovation on health, environment aspects of food systems? And maybe if you could say a few words about recent or upcoming activities implemented by FAO on the topic. We cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, no, thank you. Look, the way I see is that the way we are thinking in FAO is we have to have 4 accelerators to be able to achieve the goals that we want to achieve. And those accelerators are innovation, technology, data, and institutions, what we call complements, which is institutions and governance. I think all the 3 projects are taking those into consideration, especially the part of innovation and digital innovation and technology, but also they are focused on making it inclusive, which means bringing the smallholders into the game, which is extremely important, especially in high value commodities. Now, all these accelerators, of course, could create trade-offs, and part of those trade-offs will be on the environment, will be on the nature, on soil, water, energy, and also, of course, on emissions. And that's where the the challenge of, for example, reducing food losses and waste, which was mentioned across several of the projects, is central, because that's a situation in which we have a triple win. We not only use our resources more efficiently, because we will produce more, given that we will reduce losses. We not only reduce emissions because of the reduction of waste, especially, but at the same time, we can increase the productivity and efficiency of the farmers, which in certain way, if it is done properly, it could even increase their incomes. People normally assume that an increase in supply in a local market will reduce prices, which is correct. But that's assuming that there is one homogeneous product, and agriculture doesn't produce homogeneous products, especially in the case of high-value commodities. So having products of different varieties and different qualities could create market niches, which could create an increase in income by the reduction of the loss of those high-value commodities, which is typically the case where the losses are the highest. Now, one of the challenges we face today is the urbanization and the importance of cities and intermediate cities. And there again, reduction of losses and especially waste is extremely important, because population in urban cities is growing very fast. And what we have observed in COVID-19 is that we could have challenges, logistical challenges, that could disrupt the system of production, the agri-food system, and could create some losses of jobs, and potentially could disrupt the flow of food towards the cities. And that's what bringing also that we need to complement the activities we do in rural areas with activities that we do in peri-urban and urban cities, especially in what we call catchment areas, which are these intermediate cities, where many of these value chains occur. So when you have a production in the rural areas, most of the packaging and processing will happen in peri-urban areas because of the access to energy. And that's where one of the efforts that we are trying to do is to create a way in which we can improve the activities in green cities and create what we call some innovation at that level too. One of the surveys that we conducted in 2020 revealed that actions are needed in 5 areas. The first one is developing evidence-based and inclusive policies and plans on food systems preparedness and resilience to shocks in extreme events and protracted crisis. The second one is promoting sectoral cooperation among local departments, vertical cooperation between municipalities, subnational national governments, and horizontal coordination with other local governments. The third is promoting local food production and short supply chains, which doesn't mean at all that you neglect global chains and international chains. Basically, a global chain is when you cross 3 borders. It means that you complement both of them. And for certain types of commodities, especially vegetables, you can be using small and shorter supply chains. The fourth is facilitating access to food for the most vulnerable through social protection programs, complemented by efficient and safe and innovative food distribution, which again could be a source of demand for this type of value chains that you are being developing through this project. And the fifth one is to establish and strengthen networks and knowledge exchange between the cities also on how to handle this situation. And as a result of all this, FAO launched the Green Cities Action Program in September 2020 to help to transform these agri-food systems and end hunger and improve nutrition around the cities in a post-COVID area. And this Green Cities Action Program is to increase people's well-being also through increasing availability and access to products. As you know, 3 billion people don't have access to healthy diets today because they are too costly. It's not because the supply is not there, it's because it's too costly right now. And there are many drivers behind that cost, and that's something that we need to look carefully. So this Green City initiative is aiming to improve livelihoods and well-being of urban and peri-urban populations for at least 100 cities, 50 metropolitan, 40 intermediary, and 45 small cities around the world in the next 3 years, looking to have 1,000 cities by 2030. And what it looks basically is trying to enable the environment, is trying to bring innovation on green technologies, especially for the case of vegetables, is trying to work with intermediate cities, as I mentioned before, and the balance between green and healthy environments and productivity. And it's also trying to incorporate small cities, which sometimes are neglected and extremely important in the agri-food systems. So that's the way we are looking at it. So I see all these projects extremely important in trying to achieve all the goals that we have, and especially in trying to find ways in which we can increase availability, but at the same time being efficient in how we use our natural resources. Back to you.
Thank you, Maximo. As a complement to what you said, you mentioned in particular the COVID-19 and the impact that it can have on food systems. What were the feedback that you received on that, and do you have already some actions from these Green Cities initiative that are promising to address this kind of crisis and challenge?
Yeah, so in COVID-19, you have to think carefully on several phases. No, the first phase was a little bit complex in terms of logistical problems, especially in Europe, which depends a lot on migrant labor for the harvest and the planting. And that showed one vulnerability, no, the logistical part. And that's something that we are looking very carefully, because although in the medium term, so 6 months after or 3 months after March, the agricultural sector has shown to be extremely resilient to these shocks. No, it has shown that despite of these logistical problems, it was able to quickly find solutions and try to keep moving commodities. But it also rings a bell to us, okay, what we can do to avoid this in the future. No? Now, one of the risks there is that automation is moving very fast, because people think, and companies and agri-industry immediately start to move to automation, because the major problem was in the processing and in the packaging. And that's a sector that you can automatize a lot. Now, what is the risk there is that you will lose jobs, and especially you will lose female jobs, because that sector has a significant proportion of female workers. Because of the physical characteristics of the hands, you need very thin hands to be able to do the packaging and collect. So that's something to worry. That's something to look at, how we can compensate it and how we can create a labor supply that has certain technical skills that can also benefit from this new automation problem. So that's the first component. The second component is a little bit more complex, which is what we are living today, which is related to not to food availability, but it's more related to food access. And that's because of the recession and because of the shocks that we are going to face. So what is going to happen, and what is happening today, is that we have a lot of people, especially in developing countries, but also in developed countries, that lost their jobs, or they no longer have unemployment insurance because they went over the period of 9 months, and now they are going to get Social Security, which is a lot significantly smaller to their income they used to have. And that brings a problem of food access. No? And that what are the immediate implications? You reduce the quality of your diet. And we already have a challenge of overweight and obesity and undernourishment. So that's something we need to think very carefully. And that's why I was saying we are trying to link this to programs of cash transfers and other mechanisms that will help to support that. The second element is, okay, there is a group of people that also won't be able to have access to this food, and that will affect also the producer side, because you will have more supply, and therefore you won't have the demand that you used to have, and the diversity of demand that you used to have. Now, the fact that people are taking as a antagonistic short versus global supply chains, I think is a mistake. I think that there are commodities, because of weather issues, because of climate issues, that needs to continue to be global if you want to have availability of that commodity over time. It's a choice, of course, of the countries and so on. There are commodities that you can produce them locally, and that's where this interlinkage between urban and rural could make sense. What we know is that horizontal farming, for example, on controlled environments is very cost effective today. Vertical farming still is not. Now, you can grow vegetables with horizontal farming. So yes, you can produce closer to cities and supply to cities those type of commodities. And that's what we are observing right now. But we shouldn't think that that's a substitute to other global value chains which are important. It wouldn't make any sense to start producing staples when you have very efficient producers of staples outside the world, around the world. It will create environmental damages to do that, to change, because you will be inefficient. The same happens with other types of foods, like meats, for example, where you have countries that are extremely efficient in terms of reduction of emissions. Now, if you close that to produce it locally, then you will start to create a lot of inefficiency. So we need to understand the dynamics, and we need to understand the trade-offs and where we can minimize those trade-offs. That is what really affects our environment if we have a goal of achieving SDG 2. And those are the trade-offs that we want to minimize, and that's where we need to look very carefully. And that's what COVID-19 has made us realize of the importance of those trade-offs in the choices and the policy choices we make to be able to achieve our SDG 2 and SDG 1. Back to you.
Thank you very much for this extensive answer. Any feedback or comment from the rest of the panelists on that point, and maybe from the policy side or from the project side? Maybe colleagues from the European Commission want to react. Otherwise, there is some point that has been mentioned that is quite interesting. Also, is the need for data and data available all along the whole value chain. And this is something that we have seen quite already present in most of the projects that were presented. I know, maybe you could give a word about how you will deal with the data perspective through Food RS, and especially for the prevention of food waste to rise in some of the value chains there.
Yes. From my point of view and from the perspective of the food loss and waste, I think that there are three aspects that are key and are directly related to data, and especially to digitalization. I think that digitalization is an opportunity to gain knowledge. At this moment, it is not clear, or we cannot assure the real impact of food waste, because the quantification of food waste is the first challenge indeed. In this regard, the European Commission, through their delegated decision, is making a big effort to make progress on this quantification. But the regions and the sector itself, I think that must be properly advised to be able to update their systems, to monitor and register the food loss and waste properly. Regarding knowledge, I think also that we need also specific methodologies to be able to analyze the current resilience capacity of the systems and the level of circularity of the value chains to be able to determine the critical points where we must act over. Secondly, as I mentioned in my presentation, cooperation and active participation of all actors is needed. We cannot think in individual solutions, in specific solutions for each stage. We must have or build an holistic vision of the problem and search for the most appropriate solutions for the whole system as a whole. And in this, I think that again, administrations and policymakers are key actors to foster this cooperation. And finally, regarding transparency and confidence, I think that these two aspects are the basis of for the two previous points for cooperation and knowledge gaining. And in this sense, I think that ICT technologies and digitalization and innovative technologies as blockchain, for example, can play a key role to achieve this objective.
Thank you. Any other reaction from the project's representatives on that aspect and what has been discussed before? Don't hesitate to raise your hands and take the floor on that. And in the meantime, Nuria, if you could update us if there are some questions that have been raised or not, and otherwise we can give the floor to the panelists.
Yeah, not yet. I just sent a reminder.
Okay, thank you. So this is a call to the audience. Don't hesitate to react on what has been done or to ask your questions. Clara, yes.
Yes, very shortly, because time is running and we're already very late. I think that about measurement, another issue that's very important is that measurement helps these solutions against food waste to go on the market. I mean, we all want to reduce food waste, but in the end, who is taking action in the practice, in the everyday life of food chain? It's the businessmen in the food companies and it's the innovators, because both of them, they are a gain in reducing food waste, a monetary gain, I would say. So this is also for this reason, it's very important in my view to measure the quantity of food waste that is reduced, but also the corresponding gains that can be achieved on the economic and environmental sides.
Thank you. And this is, of course, some information that will help to tailor the policy framework. Yes, Maximo, you want to react on that?
Yeah, I just want to add, this topic is extremely important. We were just in a meeting with the European Union, and somebody questioned why we need data on losses. We know already where the problem is, and that's not true. I think it's really important to understand where in the value chain is the problem. Like, for example, we are working in 15 countries, around 30 value chains, and we are finding that a lot of the losses are happening pre-harvest, and most of the work today is post-harvest. And if you don't know where the problem is, then whatever solution you do, it will create a bigger problem rather than solving the problem. And the second thing, which I want to share with you, FAO has a tool called Exact, and we have expanded that tool to be an agribusiness tool, so it goes across the value chain. And that tool allows you to measure the environmental issues behind any value chain. So it will give you the impacts in terms of soil erosion, of emissions, and so on, so that you can have that as a tool available. It's a public good for your projects, so that you can also assess the environmental impacts of your potential value chains.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to comment on this aspect of the data and the patterns that we see at global level with post-harvest food waste or more at consumption level or at production level, this is maybe true for the global perspective, but we've seen that with food systems there are a lot of place-based situations that are very specific, and also in some territories where access to digitalization is not really possible. So how could we address this issue and be more inclusive also to be as close as possible to the reality? This is really an open question to all of you, not only addressing, by the way, food waste, but also in general food systems and diets and sustainable diets. Is there someone willing to pick up on that? Maybe a bit too challenging. So coming back to something that might be more in our hands. What apart from those that were already mentioned, what would be the biggest upcoming challenges with regards to sustainable food systems in the coming years, and how do you think that we would be the correct path to address those challenges? Maybe if Natalia or Luis, you would like to have a say on that, and then we will go back to the other panelists. Luis, we cannot hear you. We can see that you are talking, but we cannot hear you.
Sorry, I turned off my camera again.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Okay. It works now. It works. It's off again, the camera. I think indeed the challenges are something that is continuing, that is very well known, and if I may signal the overall picture related to climate change and migration is probably something to be taken into account. And when I mention migration, not only the global aspect, but also the regional and national aspects, even within the EU, the movement from rural areas to cities, whereby Somehow nowadays with the COVID-19, it seems that there are slightly signals of this change in the trend, but I'm not sure whether this change in the trend of coming back to the rural areas represents really an opportunity to go back to be more active in agriculture, or is mainly an aspect more related to the need for people to break out from the cities because of the COVID-19 situation in Europe. But overall, I think indeed the main challenges that are on the table, as I see, is that the diversity of the food systems, not only in Europe but globally, is an opportunity indeed to promote for the sharing of best practices and the sharing of knowledge that may come from certain regions to other regions, but at the same time the challenge to ensure that the actions that will be pursued are evidence-based and that are able to be implemented from the global to the regional to the local level. And there, I think flexibility will be needed in the sense that what may work for certain situation or certain food system scenario may not work for another one. But still, we need to probably have the overall spirit of ensuring that all the actions at different levels and wherever they are taken because of the particularities of a certain region contribute to the global ambition of making a transition to sustainable food systems. So I believe this aspect of global versus local, which colleagues have already explained before, and also the different opportunities and needs and the way to manage those expectations are probably the major challenges that we will face. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Luis. Anyone also willing to pick very quickly on this question of further upcoming challenges? Yes, Ines.
Just to complement, because I fully agree with most of the things that panelists share with us today, I wanted to stress the fact that consumers, citizens in particular, are really in the center of everything, and the consciousness, the increasedness of awareness of citizens about promoting and really including sustainable products in their diets, they will have really a calling effect, and could be like a push, or sorry, a pull effect, really to motivate some other parts of the food systems to really to do efforts in improving the sustainability. So, and I think not enough efforts have been done to make aware citizens on how important is the choice they made in their day-by-day small fact of buying foods. So I think this is also a big challenge in the next years, to make them aware, really unconscious.
Yes, thank you for that. I think that you have a very good point. Consumers have a very large leverage power, except that this is a power that is scattered through several billion people, and by making them aware about not only the impact, but also in a positive way, how they can, by their purchasing power, contribute to a more sustainable system. This is a way to bring them also on board. There are initiatives that are aiming at raising awareness of citizens on issues like food waste, for instance, the European Week for Waste Reduction, and other initiatives. But definitely there is a need of lots of energy to be put on those. Maybe we are now, more than 20 minutes overdue, but there are some questions that have been raised. Maybe one that is directly related to or addressed to the European Commission, and maybe that could be picked up by Luis. Nuria, maybe you could give us more information about that.
Yes. So, since as Maximo said, there are a lot of food losses in pre-harvest stage, and the definition of food waste in the regulation 178/2002 doesn't include unharvested plants. Is the European Commission considering modifying this definition of food waste? This is by Manuel Amador. Thank you.
So I don't know if Luis, you would like to pick up on that question regarding the definition of food waste. Is it something that will be considered in the upcoming new regulation or new directive, to be more specific?
Luis, can you hear us?
Yes, I am afraid that you will have to switch off your camera again so that we can hear you. It seems that no, we cannot hear you. It seems that that your microphone, I don't know, for whatever reason, has been disconnected. We cannot hear you. Anyway, this is something that we might be able to address maybe in written if you have the possibility to send comments afterwards. We would share that along with the information that we will share about the project. The event, sorry. Thank you for all of your participation so far. We have already extended very much the time of these events, and I'm very happy to have had you here. Maybe a final word from each of you very quickly about this event and future cooperation. Ladies first. You are the Geneviève. You are the first on my list, and then I will go through all of you. No.
I think you're muted.
Yes, maybe or
I'm
Ines,
sorry, I have another meeting and I was looking at because the time is flying. So sorry for that.
No worries, no worries. Ines, you want to pick up on that? Final word.
Yeah, so thanks so much. Really interesting thing has been said today. So thank you. And also some key information. So from my point of view, I keep in mind, or my main insight from this meeting is that data are really relevant. And this is, I think, we as coordinators of the sister projects must be one of our main targets is to provide with valuable, realistic and interoperable data to contribute to really to set the situation of food systems. So at the extent we can from each our project, right? So this is kind of a responsibility we have. So I know this. Thank you.
Thank you, Clara. You would be next.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. It's been a very interesting discussion. From my point of view, this is one. This event confirms that really cooperation among these projects is very important. I mean, we are probably investing. I'm talking for Loving Food. We're probably investing in cooperation with other projects more time than we had expected, but it's totally worth. Because in 5 projects we have a wide network of partners, research partners, but also very important companies and food chain actors. So I really believe that the exploitation of our results can be boosted through this cooperation. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Ainhoa?
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity to collaborate in this event, and again thank you also to the rest of the sister projects of these topics, because it's a pleasure to collaborate and to look for opportunities to transfer our results and our knowledge. I think that it is very important, this kind of activities. We have a huge potential in each project, generating a lot of results around different value chains. We can share all these results, and I think that it is a pleasure to have this platform to cooperate, really cooperate, and learn from each other.
Yes, definitely, and not reinvent the wheel, but make more synergies between the projects. Nikolaos?
Hi, thank you also from my side. Indeed, it's very important to create synergies within the projects, and this is what we are trying to do with all the sister projects. And this is very interesting. This is not something that we have done in the past while the projects were working at least at this scale. And I agree that data are very important, and within the next years, it's one of our main tasks to collect evidence and data about specific benefits, costs, and also impacts on sustainability of the different innovations.
Thank you. Mihai, you are the last one that I see on my screen, but I know that the other colleagues are here, but maybe you want to say a word.
Thank you everybody for taking part in this event. I'm particularly pleased. I found some interesting things that I've already wrote on paper. I retained the question about the pre-harvest waste, and we'll come back to you with an answer on that, either me or Natalia. I retained as well Ines's statement regarding the awareness raising in not only in the end consumers, but also to the producers, to the companies, to everyone involved in the food chain regarding the values. And we should also, well, it could be linked to the quantification of those effects at all levels, at the end consumers, at producers, and not in the last, in the least for the communities. And we have toolboxes, we have a lot of elements that can be brought in discussion here, but we don't have a big one, a one that will generate, for instance, policy in this direction. But we will get there. We will get there probably in 2-3 years. We will have all these living labs and research and innovation actions that will lead us to common policies that will probably take a certain shape at the level of the member states.
And maybe a place where we can have a kind of one-stop shop where people who are interested in that topic can find what they are willing.
Exactly. And perhaps not the last element that I want to change for the next event. We should count perhaps an extra half an hour or 1 hour.
Yes. For sure, that would be definitely needed. Thank you for that, Maximo. Last but not least, the floor is yours for final message.
No, thank you so much. It was very nice to hear all your projects, and I think there is enormous potential. I think more than legislation in terms of food loss and waste, which are two different things, it's important to resolve the problems that we face in the value chains, and that's where we aim to improve the quality of the information and the data so that you can better target, and also to find ways in which we can simply collect this data and it doesn't take too much time and doesn't too much cost, so that it can be done at a bigger scale. And finally, the issue of sustainability in the 3 dimensions is extremely important, and it's something that we need to keep putting efforts to measure those trade-offs, because whatever we do, we need to take into account what they mean so that we can provide correct policies to minimize them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
yes. I'm sorry because I have another meeting and I was looking at the agenda a few minutes ago. That is why I just want to say that I'm very happy to share all this project and to collaborate. And I think we all put a lot of effort from the beginning of our project to collaborate, to create meetings, to create working groups on different aspects. And I'm quite happy to see that we have a working group on methodology, how to assess our value chain in order to adjust our assessment methodology and to share our point of view. We have also methodology on the co-creation workshops and the co-creation processes. We have also the idea to develop a common platform in order to describe all our case studies. So I think we put a lot of effort, and I'm quite happy to collaborate and to share our point of view because it's quite important for sure.
Thank you. Cooperation, collaboration would be the mainstream word of that event. Thank you all again for your kind participation and the input that you provided. The recording, and the presentations will be made available on the various sister projects websites. And of course, don't hesitate to get back to us if you have any comments or questions. Thank you very much. Take care and talk to you soon.
Thank you, everybody, again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.